for here, February 15th. I hope that those of you that celebrated a good Valentine's Day, that you didn't end up in the doghouse or on the couch because you forgot something or you didn't do it or you forgot that it was the day altogether. In my household, we have a rule: every day is Valentine's Day. Uh, so she has a right to go get whatever she wants, and I have a right to buy her anything I want during the year, as long as we don't have to celebrate Valentine's Day. And I don't have to get her a card because I am notorious card forgetter. I cannot buy a card, cannot find a card. For some reason, I can write the most prolific poems and muses and things like that, but when it comes to cards, I feel like I want to throw up. So she's made me that promise. Not to buy her chocolate, not to buy her flowers or anything else wasteful, but to spend time with us and her and the kids, and that's what we do. So I had a great day yesterday, and I hope you did too. Okay, let's jump right back into it, all the silly stuff out of the way. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the daily loss and found. I know it's a play on words. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. We're going to talk about the SR Max. Why? Because I like them. And we're going to talk about changing your view and some final thoughts. The changing your view part, don't worry, you're not going to get all Tony Robbins-esque. I'm not going to ask you to cluck like a chicken or try to hypnotize you or do anything else. I just want you to be prepared that it's going to take some mental work today, okay, for you to change from this point. Before we do, let's talk about change. Let's talk about the risk and disclaimer of this company in the earnings. And remember, all of this company has never been done before like this. Okay, you can't show me one company out there that has the webinar systems that we do, that have the chat rooms and processes that we do, and with the sincerity and the development of all the people. Then there's other companies that are like it, but none that really emulated exactly. And we really do want your success. It's not about the membership for us. It's about you being able to be successful. Of course, as always, education and trade assistance only, and all results may vary. I am going to show you numbers today. I am going to show you things that are being successful and not successful, and your ideas of success from that point. So let's get into that. The daily loss and found. Now, this morning, I got to also get my screen share process going here, and I do apologize. I usually have that up prior to. But this morning, for the 11 o'clock signals, there was a huge failure. Now, when I say failure, there was signals that lost. Absolutely, that they lost. And in the daily system process, we ask you to do a few things. We ask you that if you're going to be trading the dailies, there's a couple of different ways to trade them: in a choke-up process and in a working order process. Now, the downside is that when you use a working order process, a working order will get filled on the way of a signal losing. That is, that's the way they are. A loss will pick up a working order as it's running by, right? So, I mean, if you put a working order, say at 1.0076 for a sell, okay, that it's going to be down here, and the news comes out and it pushes the market way up and it keeps going, and usually it would come back down from bounce that, but then it continues on. If you put that working order there, it's going to get filled and it's going to keep going on doing its thing, right? And that's what's going to happen. You will get fills. The working order process is a set and forget, but every once in a while you're going to have to pay the piper. Now, how do you protect yourself against stuff like this for the losses? How do you protect yourself against the losses? Well, the losses this morning were due to a large pack of news that happened at 8:30 in the morning, right? Let's go have a look. Here's the news pack that happened this morning. From this 8:30 time period, from this 6 o'clock, from the euro happening there, so from 6 o'clock, not so much, but from 8:30, there were a bunch of movement with the USDG, or with the USD, right? And the signals that came out that failed, okay, all had a massive amount of movement with the USD. Not really sure on the Audi JPY, but listen, vacant news happens. A lot of people don't trade the US at that particular point because of the volatility, so they will go to other factors, either the Audi or the JPY. So this is possibly why, if it was an excuse on how everything came out. But I want to show you just about everything that released. If you see no signals at 8:15 coming out. There wasn't enough prior movement to the signal being released. So 8:30, 8:45, and what have you. Now, why did some of them win and some of them lose from this perspective? Well, the USD CAD, the CAD held back the USD's expansion, okay, because the USD was expanding, it was growing, but the CAD held it back some and allowed it to continue on in its buy capacity, which it's triggered at momentum, so it moves slower. These guys moved really super fast during that process, and if you go down here and look at the movement that happened, you can kind of quickly see that like for the British Gold, that was the British Gold pound. Let's look at so here was the British Gold pound on a sell. When the news first came out, right around here, it was doing its job. The news came out at 8:30, the signal came out at 8:30, because that anticipation that happened pushed the market way down. And if the trigger was right around here for it to be triggered as a signal, it got faked out. Then the news releases, some more news releases, another pack comes out, and then of course, let me head back over the news process. Where did it go? Wait. This is another big one that hurt us at 10 o'clock. And this 10 o'clock news that came out really pushed the market in. It came out Yellen speaking, and this is a difficult one because there's no direct data that I can take from this one, even though that I can go back and look at history and see I don't have any actual forecasts for this process, for the dailies that way. Okay, so I don't know how it's going to affect the Yellen, or I would have told everybody to get out. But I'm not watching the dailies. The dailies are not meant to be watched. They're meant to be set and forget unless you're doing choke ups, because you're playing on the drawdown at that point, 96, 95%. So with that case, what ended up happening to the signal itself? Well, in the case of the British Gold Pound USD, we had called out 244 on the sell. Here's 244 all the way up here. Okay, kind of came in, punched that market, got down there, and then right around 10 o'clock, this bar here, there's 244 right there, 10 o'clock. That news, if that news didn't come out, okay, you would have still been down around in this area. The news didn't come out in favor or in depreciation of the USD. So the USD depreciated from that point, increasing the value to the British Gold Pound and to the other base pairs. Okay, the other base pairs were all appreciated. So there is a lot of explanation to why the signals fail. It's just being able to know what those triggers are and what will make them fail. Does that make sense? Does everybody in the room understand that? Is there anybody that has a question against that process on why they failed? Does everybody see why they all, like 4 signals failed on the dailies? Okay. Now, in order for you to understand when do they fail, and you kind of know that process now, but let me give you some reassurance, okay? Because even though I've said in the past that the signals can go through news, you have to have a perfect storm like that. You have to have that process, right? And some of you lost money in there. And I never want you to think that I don't care about you losing money. I'm not some rich snob sitting on a fucking, $1 million home here, okay? Living off of your memberships, okay? I'm a trader too. Now, just so happens, I didn't trade this morning. I would have looked at the news and probably wouldn't have traded if I would have seen that news pack happen this morning. But I have traded through news when it comes to dailies. I only trade the daily. I trade the SR Maxes in demo. I only trade the dailies live as of right now. I will start trading the SR Maxes in live here soon. But I've been so busy doing everything else. But some of you took some risk into that process, and there you go. Something happened at that point, right? You had some loss in there. But I want to give you some reassurance, okay? Because there's a lot of people who go in there who, if you state, oh, the dailies have such a high ITM, they're so NTM, and I can never get into anything when I get there, then you haven't done the training. And if I call you out in the room that you haven't done the training, or ask you if you have done the training, don't take offense. Because if you're making statements like that, then you don't know about it, what the daily is, that it is a range trade with two major concepts to be able to trade it. And we do that for a reason, because there's a high range, there's a low range. And for those of you that learn how to use them properly, can make money on both sides, as well as doing choke ups along the way. So let's have a look at some of the information. I wanted to kind of look at, how many times in the last week have the daily signals failed. So let's go have a look at that. Okay, my poor dog's sitting over there snoring. I do apologize. But if I go to the spreadsheet, if I go to the actual spreadsheet on the website, I can easily just sit there and look down the sheet here. And yes, we had this huge news pack fail this morning. This is hurtful. This happens every once in a while. But let's go back even further. Okay, now we're on the second. We're on the third. We're still on the 13th there. We get a lot of signals a day. Okay, so, and I do apologize. There's a lot of signals per day. I shouldn't apologize. That's, but there you go. Here's the second page. Here we're back on the 8th now. Here's the third page. Now each one of these pages is 100 because I have it set to 100. So we're back to 300 trades, right? Right around 300 trades. Okay, and so I put this together. Right around 300 trades, 286 of them. Okay, 200 out of 286 trades, we had 274 wins, 12 losses. It's a 95.8% success rate. Okay, all I did was copy and paste all those trades over to here. You could do it too. You could do it too. You could actually copy and paste everything from that and put it into a spreadsheet and calculate. You can do all kinds of crazy things with that once you do that. Do you realize that? Taking that information, what could you do with this? You could do what I did here. Now, this takes a little bit more of, compilation. You're doing count ifs and you're checking, is it a plus, is a minus? And, I'm doing other calculations in this process, right? Gets a little complicated, right? But you could easily put this together and come in and do things like this. You could sort out a sheet. Well, I just kind of blew it from that point, but let me hit Control Z on this thing. Wow, I just lost all my code in there. I do apologize. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can hit edit and undo. One more time. Undo. There we go. Thank God for Control Z. All right. So that's basically, let me show you here for 1 second. I want to freeze these lines. So let me see if I resort now. Will that do it? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So basically, I lost some of the data there too. Figures. Here, hang on a second. Because I don't want that other information taken. Okay, that should do it. There we go. You freeze my line, go to freeze current line to 12, so that way I can move through. All right, so now if I do a sort, there it is. I can look at the JPYs, right? And I can look to see how successful are the JPYs at this point. Look at that. I could calculate how many are under 20, how many are under 40. I could do that, right? This is what the DPC does right now to a degree, right? I'm going to be providing in the next phase of DexTrader a more inclusive DPC area, data processing center, to include the pair, its best success rate, its success rate per each hour, its success rate per each trade, per each session. Is going to be a complete data sheet on each one to say what each session has, how many a year it normally has, what is the pip average for that section. So it's going to get very detailed here, but I needed the data behind it, okay? Because I didn't want to supply you a bunch of half-done data, right? You can then go look and see, when does it normally lose? Okay, there's an 11 o'clock. Well, that one's from today, so. And you can start to spot patterns in the process. You can look easily to see that the AUD USD has lost 3 times, has a 92.9% success rate. And each time it has lost, look at that, except for once, 3 o'clock in the morning, probably with another news pack in there. But before that, you just keep going. You keep scrolling that process. So what I did here is that on the right-hand side here, I took some information. I said on the wins, okay, what I want to do is I want to isolate any of the pips here that are under 20 pips, right? Under 20 pips have a very high rate of success of being filled within some time. Now listen, a lot of these that have like run-ons, there's a lot of them that fill. And I'm looking between 30 and 35% that fill if you set a working order. Okay? But anything under 20 pips is almost pretty much guaranteed that it's going to fill, right? But unfortunately, the losses will fill too. So I took the amount of the losses and the amount of wins that had a less than 20 pip win, added them together to create 76 total trades. Okay, which is about 28% of the 270 or 284 that are there, right? So what I did is that I then said, okay, out of those 12, out of that 64, 12 losses, that's an 84% success rate. Now that may not seem very good. Now this is if you had to take every single one, but you're not going to do that. And I understand that. You might have some frustration with this process. Your session may trade worse than this or better. You might have gotten into 3 or 4 of the bad times and just, you pick that one, and that happens because you come into trade and you choose out of 3 and you end up choosing the ADY, or AUD JPY. You see what I'm saying? So there are times when, it's the amount of selection, it's the amount of time. I never trade more than, if I get one that fills, I take the others off. And sometimes it's that one that is the loser that's going. But if your system can handle it, try not to trade the same base pair or quote pair as you do another one. Okay, so the Audi JPY, if it comes out as a signal, don't trade another Audi. Don't trade the Audi USD. If you're trading a Euro USD, don't trade another Euro or a USD. Trade one of the off pairs. Put that if you have that opportunity, and if you don't, then you're rolling the gamble. If you're going to place 5 or 6 working orders in on 5 or 6 different pairs, and the USD fails, then guess what? All are going to fail. Or if it gets beefed up, they're all going to fail. I think that's what happened to somebody in the room today named Montana. I think he put or whatever. I don't know the actual details, but he lost $250 today. And I feel that person's pain. I really do. It's a girl or boy, I don't know. But I feel their pain. And it's upsetting. It's upsetting because you as somebody who comes in and you're trying to make money, and $250 is a lot of money. And then you got to work against that. But then they start thinking, oh, now I need to go make all this money back. And this is it's the mentality that ends up hurting you more than anything else. The loss, the money is nothing but money, right? And I know to some of you that's everything, okay? But you have to find a way to become very balanced with your money and with losses, right? You have to become very balanced in this system, because if you don't, if you start putting too much weight on one side or the other, you begin to make decisions that will end up hurting you. There's one trick that I do right now, and in most of my data that I have, when I was first starting out, I had to remove this symbol from everything. I had to remove it. I had to remove the color green, and I had to remove the color red. And I brought back the color green because I was able to really break down my greed factor, but my fear factor of red always came back. Does that make sense? Colors do it to you as well. Do you understand that? Colors have a highly suggestible process with them. They will trick you into feeling a particular way. So you have to find a way what works for you to sort of nullify the positive or negative of a win or a loss. And when you're trading dailies, I know that's tough because there's a lot of time that goes on between them. This is where the allure of 5-minute trades. Any 5-minute traders in the room right now? I know I see a couple. This is that allure for some of you in there, right? For those 5-minute traders. Some of you 5-minute traders are in there, have such a quick sense of the trade happening, where a daily person comes in and trades, if this is a single day, they come in and they're doing maybe one trade here, one trade here. Their mentality, if it gets screwed up, screws them up from here to all the way to their next trade, right? So they're dealing with like 8 hours worth of I gotta wait till my next trade to get to it, For you guys, you're like dun 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 dun. Oh, lost one. Dun, 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 dun. Oh God, I lost another one. Dun, 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 dun. Win, win, win. And so you have all these opportunities to make yourself happy again. But for even you folks, for even you 5-minute traders, that balance has to be even sharper for you, because you have to check yourself immediately, because you don't have an hour or two to go have a cup of coffee, take a deep breath. It's got to be minutes. In some cases, it has to be seconds. You have to remove all kind of negative connotation, the loss or the win to you, in order just to be able to get. Paul says, I dabble. Screw you, Paul. You do more than dabble. Okay, so listen. The tough part for seeing a loss, and a big loss in for some of you that were in the dailies. If you got in the dailies, you lost. If you're in intradays, you're going to go through some that are lost. I saw somebody write to me, I got completely wiped out on dailies today. How did you get completely wiped out? Are you not using risk management? Are you not using safety nets for yourself in trading? I completely lost my demo account today in dailies. Did you trade 500 contracts at once or something? Big grandiose statements of being frustrated is one thing. So finally, I will ask that if you do have a loss, if you do lose a trade, if this does happen, remember that I'm a very transparent individual. I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I'll tell you exactly what I think, and I will ask you questions that are hard to answer for yourself, or maybe even hard to hear, speculations or comments that I'll make towards you that may be hard to hear. Okay? But I'll never be disrespectful. And if you come into the room and you start spitting around a bunch of nonsense about how this sucks, I just lost, now I got to go get it all back up. Remember, you're not the only person in the room. You're not the only one that lost. You're not the only one going through trials and tribulations. And I ask for you to be respectful. It's not much. It doesn't take much. It's difficult to do for some. But I'll be the first person to remove you from this company and from this process if disrespect comes into that room. Asking questions is not a problem. Showing and being frustrated, like, damn, I lost that trade, that hurt. But you start rambling on about how you got ripped off and wiped out, and I don't know if this is working, this ain't going to work for me, and how can it work for anybody when you can't get in? If you start making comments like that, you're just going to affect, there's so many people in this that are doing very well, and they take the losses. They take the losses with the bad or with the good. That's absolutely right, Paul. No negative vibes. You're preaching to the choir in the room when you come in and say, damn, this sucked, I lost. That now I have to work hard to get it back. That's a gimme. That's part of it. But it also depends on how big you look. I had one gentleman in there, Steve, in the room this morning. He lost one as well, and he traded the news. He even admitted, I traded the news. I got on the phone with him. I privately messaged him, asked him to call me, because he said, he asked me if I remembered him, and I didn't remember him from last year, but he's been here for about 6 months. And he told me this morning that he has been trading in such a manner, because he's very reserved. He's very nervous about losing all of his money. And if he does have a loss, he says, yes, it does take me a little bit to get back. But he started trading the SR Max. He really likes being able to get out of those trades and get out for a smaller loss instead of an $80 loss or $78 loss or what have you. And he said that when he loses, he goes back to his spreadsheet that he created, that he put all of his trades in. And he constantly has a number up in the top right-hand corner that tells him exactly what his lifetime success rate is and how much he's made overall, even though that he's pulled money out of the account, and he went from, when he was going from demo to live, he said was the toughest part for him, because he was so scared to go to 2 because he thought he was going to lose his first one. He's telling me all these things, these wonderful transitional processes that he had to go through, from transgression, from going from demo to live. We had a nice conversation. That's why I was almost a little late today. Some people like to talk. I like to talk, but I like to listen too. And he told me that he goes back to that spreadsheet every once in a while to look at his lifetime value. What has he gotten from it? He's withdrawn money from Nadex. Does he make a lot? I'm going to be honest with you. He doesn't make a lot. 1,400 in some months, 1,500 in others. He made like 300 in 1 month before when he was first starting out because he made a lot of mistakes, took a lot of gambles. So he's been very reserved, but it's always growing, he says. Now for him, that's his idea of success. He's a full-time nurse. Mike says, house payment, car payment. Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you're putting in 50, 60 hours a week on trading, that's not a good management of your time. Something's happening. There's undue risk happening there. I want you to pick up a phone. I want you to hit the booking consult process. You should be using your journal. You should be tracking this process. Find out what happened. Look at news. Investigate. I tell you, when you lose, the first thing is to do what? Is to investigate, right? Did I do what? Did I make a mistake? Right? Your first thing to do when you have a loss is that you investigate, did I make a mistake? Immediately. Don't look for a mistake. Don't be like, oh, God, there it is. I drank decaffeinated coffee this morning. Don't look for a mistake, right? Did you go the wrong direction? Did you take the wrong strike? Those are the only two things that can really go wrong. Did I trade during news? Those are the three things. Did I take the wrong strike? Did I go the wrong direction? Or did I trade during news? If it was, nope, I didn't take the wrong strike, I didn't take the wrong direction, and I didn't trade during news, then it's a natural loss and move on. Right? Move on. Let it go. Don't even look at how much it cost you. Don't look at because if you're trading proper risk management and doing the incremental crawl and using proper risk management, that should be an acceptable loss to you. But if you went in yesterday and we're trading 2 contracts and today you're trading 7 contracts because yesterday went so damn good, then you're not using proper risk management. And you need to reassess your training again. Now, if you did make a mistake, yep, I got the wrong strike. Damn it. Or I traded the wrong direction. Idiot. And I could say that because I've done it a lot. Oh, nope, I traded during news. Hey, but Max said I could trade during news with the dailies. I did. I said that there is a possibility that for the most part, the dailies trade during news. In certain circumstances, they happen to get beat up. And today was one of them. Huge news pack between 8:30 and 9. And then another one right at 10 o'clock, right at the end. So you had one in the beginning and one at the end. So if you take just a couple minutes and look at it before you put that working order on, you could avoid that. Yeah, it depends on when the news comes out during the trade. That's what Paul said, and it's true. Now, I'm not looking to blame you folks for you losing. This is a signal and loss. But the system has that potential that later on I can apply certain news avoidance systems for the dailies when those things happen. I can write that into the trade, but we won't know that. This is only the 4th time in, I think it was, I was looking at, sorry, I got a lot of sleep last night. I almost said it's been a long night. I wasn't even up all night last night, which is awesome. I actually got some sleep. But I think there was only 4 times in the last year that this has happened to this extent. I mean, so you can go back and look and say, hey, I trade and I got some really bad luck trading the dailies. Okay, then let's find something else that works for you. For some reason, you keep picking the worst ones out of the bunch, but when the signal's winning 96% of the time, when it's fulfilling so much, maybe it's best just to kind of find the ones that will work for you. Maybe the SR Maxes work better. All right. I'm not going to beat this dog. This is done. Let's get to the next process here. we're going to talk just about that, about the SR Maxes. Anybody in the room have a chance to trade the SR Max? Anybody? Usually Brad Beckham is the one in trading the SR Maxes. He was doing them for demo for me, testing them out for me. And I want to show you this because it's, hey, listen, it's lovely. This gentleman, he works, he has family, he has a whole bunch of things. This is why I picked him to test this out, to be the poster child of the SR Maxes. Okay, but the SR Maxes, they have their own little process too, right? They don't have the, you may not think they have the best success rate, but they actually have one of the best success rates for what's happening to them. Look at this. These 4 trades that lost over this period of time, so 214, the very last into the next morning, whether or not there was news or anything else, because it does have a news avoidance process, but there is still some offsets that I have to do with that. Okay, so from like where was it? Right in this area, lost in that one, lost in that one. Or if I go back to yesterday's, oh, that was yesterday's. So here's 215. I'll do both. Yeah, look, this is the news from today. So for that, I was on the wrong news segment, but the process here, look, there's a ton of news. Yellen testifies, there's all these things that are happening. Look at that. It's crazy. 1030 news, two bulls, all this stuff. If you traded the dailies today, this was a big boo-boo. You should have really looked at this like, holy crap, I got it. It can't be in there. But the SR Maxes, okay, every single one of those signals that lost this morning, and I can easily go down here at USD JPY at 2300 to 1 o'clock from last night. Okay. Let's see where it is. 2300 to 1 o'clock right there. There's the crossover right there, right? Because it was on the sell and it crossed for the up, right? Oh, right there's. This is confirmation right here at 12:15. Super confirmation at 12:30, right? Even though it kind of came back over and hit below. USD JPY on the sell at 1 o'clock at 114.34. And there it is. This would have told you right here. This one right here would have been the best one because it had a crossover for the up. 114.38. You would have been 4 pips out. You would have still been in money, or you would have still been, you would have been just out of money, but you would have been just out of profit, maybe about 20 bucks or so. All right, Paul, see you later. So there's still a great opportunity there. Now, if I look at, if we go over to Brad's, okay, I want you to see this 95%, but we've had 6 SOEs. This is what this is scalp out early. Okay, he's coined this term, and I'm going to let him keep it. He's going to have authority over this term SOE. So it's called now not a scalp out, but an SOE, scalp early, right? So it means it for either side. Look at this, $24 and a minus 23. Now this is a loss, okay? So this is considered the loss because it went to full risk and lost full risk. Also, if he scalps out for positive, which he hasn't done yet. Holy crap, Brad. Okay, so which he hasn't done yet, but great opportunity here, right? Even with these 1, 2, 3, 4 scalp outs, 5, 6 scalp outs, 1 loss in there, 8 scalp outs out of how many trades? 21, 22 trades. He had 21 wins, 1 loss, and 6 scalps out. So he had 28 trades, and 7 of them didn't work out, right? But he still made 377 bucks with 1 contract, 750 with 2 contracts, 1,500 with 4 contracts. You getting the picture? But you have to pay attention. You have to be a part of that system. As soon as the signal comes out, you're on this first hour, you basically got some time, right? So if they come out at 9 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock in the morning for an 11 o'clock expiry, you're breaking your time up. Because are you ready to trade? If you're looking for a set and forget, go to dailies, go to those things, deal with the fallout, deal with all that stuff the every once in a while, but look at the news, tell your, get into them. Be like Steve, 14, 15, 1,600 bucks. He's only trading 1 contract at a time too, by the way. Could he make $2,800 trading 2, $5,600 trading 4, and so forth? Yes, absolutely. But his balance is low. He keeps drawing money out, so he doesn't need a lot, so he doesn't risk a lot. And he says the big numbers scare the shit out of him. I don't blame him. But you have to ask yourself, if you're going to trade the SR Max, you're going to trade in such a sense that this first hour you got it kind of made, right? But if you start seeing it curl over, start paying attention. You're waiting for the crossover. Now, well, sometimes the actual will come in and bounce and kind of go like this, right? But for a moment, it may come over and cross, but until the bar, hang on, let me do this. It comes to here, and then it starts to cross over, but then the bar hasn't closed yet, right? And then the bar closes and it's up here. You're like, wait a minute, I saw a crossover. So you got to be careful. You got to wait for the 15-minute to end, right? So if you come out at 9 o'clock, right? This is 9 o'clock. And this is 10, and this is 11. Every 15-minute is a marker, right? So you have 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock, right? And then from 10 to 10:15, you're paying attention to it, right? And at 10:15, any crossover? No, good, you're golden. Come back in 15 minutes. Come back in 14 minutes. Sit down, have a look at it. Is there any crossover? No, keep going. All right, so this is 10:15, 10:30. Now, when you get to 10:45, right? When you get to 10:45, this is where the bewitching hour comes in, right? This is where you're paying a little bit more attention. So 10:45, you're like, is there any crossover? No. Is it close? Or maybe there is a crossover at 10:45, right? You got this little crossover happening, a little tiny one. And you don't have a lot of movement. You're still in the money. You still got ITM happening to your trade. You're still in profit. You might be just real close to maybe not in profit. This is that time when you got to ask yourself, the Jimmy Durante song, do I stay or do I go? Now, for the most part that I have seen so far is that if I have a crossover at 9:45 or at 10:45, I'm sorry, at 10:45, I'm going to win the 11 o'clock. Unless it's like a huge crossover. I mean, if it's just a tiny little crossover at 9:45, kind of looks like that. But if you get there and it's got like a huge amount of space in between there, it might be something to get out of. So keep that in mind. Okay. For those of you that are trading the SR Max, you should be jumping up and down. I mean, sincerely. I mean, can you tell me anything better than this? This gentleman's in there. Look at all the different times he's trading. 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the morning. Holy crap, Brad. He's all over the place. But great, because he can trade whatever he needs if there's a signal. Now, in this particular case, he got into one particular, this is all the same. These two here, he had 3, 4 in a couple of days here. He had some time off here. He's trading in a whole session waiting for something to come out. But I want you to see this, right? Because this isn't, we're going to count this one as part of the day here because he was trading that process in here. I'm going to go back to the 12th here, throughout the 12th, right here. This is live, right? $44 for the session, even though that he had 1, 2, 3 losses in there. And I won't say losses, but I'll say scalp outs, right? SOEs. But because he had out of there, he had, because we counted that one because it went to 1 o'clock. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 trades that happened. And 3 of them he had to scalp out. He still made $44 for the session on 1 contract. 80 for 2, 160 for 4, and you get the picture. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but let's look at the 13th from when he traded here. There's a 13th. What? 80 something bucks, right? Actually, I can tell you right now, 84.75. I didn't know if you guys knew that. If you, a little lesson here, if you scroll, if you select a group of numbers in a spreadsheet, okay, like you like, let's just say you're doing this. Watch, you just capture it all, right? And you want to know how much is that? You don't even need to do a sum over here, right? I'm gonna see if I can break my screen here. See if I can make this smaller. It's a lot of windows open, isn't it? Okay. But watch this. Ah, damn it, not that. Okay. So if I come in and I select, let's just say these two, right? We know that that's 48 bucks, right? Look down here. Google has this process that you can actually, when you select, you can select a bunch of variables and have it like that, but it's only looking for, because they see this as a different number in there, right? So if I select these three, it'll tell me what my sum is. See, 71. So if I come down here and I'm looking for the dates now, let's see here. Scroll this back over. I'm only looking for the ones on the 14th. This one was the one we counted from the day before because he went over. Oh wait, no, there, 15th. There's the 14th. Looks like he was trading from the day before that night. So we'll count that because it's part of that day. Okay, there we go. $132 for a single day's worth of work. Now, that may not seem like a lot to some of you, but again, we're talking about one contract time. So if you're in trading the SR Max, if you are having that kind of success, I want you to reach out to me. Even if you're not having that success, we want to find out why. The SR Maxes are so easy to use. They're so easy to figure out. If you're scared of taking the scalp out, if you're a gambler and you're not taking the crossover, if you don't want to sit and pay attention to them, then go find something else. Go find a daily, go find an intraday, go find a 5-minute, go do something else. But if you're wanting to make consistent profit margin to where you're in control of it, then I'll be goddamn the ones that go as the SR Maxes. Go get them. Go get them. Eat them right up, because they are listen, there's a lot of them in there. You could do a lot of work there. All right. And there's even more of them now in there. Did you guys notice? The SR Maxes now have all of the other 5 pairs that are in there, right? The USD CHF. And I don't know if you've noticed, if you do a little homework here, take the USD CHF, isolate it over the last 2 days that they've been out, 3 days that they've been out, been kind of rocking 100%. Right? Here's the JPY. USD CAD. Well, it kind of sucked. It kind of got hurt. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole now. But you could still. You still could. It just means you got to pay attention to it. By the way, this USDJ or USD CAD won. I remember this one. It won for me because I was just above the, I had the pip lower, and with the indicative pricing, it won. So this one actually won. I won't change it because I'm using spot Forex information in here. Let's look at another one. Euro British pound. Oh, another 100% in there over the last 2 days. Doesn't mean throw the farm at this either, by the way. You see one of these come up, don't be betting the world. You will end up losing. But play proper risk management. Right? Audi JPY. Let's have a look at that one. Another one. You can break it all. You can break them all down. Look at this. And again, if it has a good success rate, a high success rate, means that you don't have to watch it as much, but begin to learn how to feel how these things unfold for you. Nobody in this room, not one single one of you, shouldn't say one thing about not having enough inventory to trade. Not one of you should say that I can't make it work. Every single one of you can make it work. Depends on how much stuff you're going to move out of the way to make it happen. to make it happen. And this is what brings me into my next point. Hi, I'm Max Farrow, and I'm a workaholic. My view of my work, every single one, not one of you got that, right? Not one of you in there said, hi, Max. So maybe there's not any AA people here, right? But let me tell you, I'm a workaholic. And my viewpoint on everything that I do is, how do I fix it? How do I make it better? And in order for me to change my view and to accept a loss, to accept that process that I was telling you about before, I had to kind of remove it, the fix it. I had to look to see if I made a mistake. And if I did, then how do I create a flow sheet to make sure my mistake doesn't happen again? But us as traders, and how many of you here by show of yeses, by a show of yeses, have ever, has ever had when they've had a loss, go, damn, this isn't working, I got to go figure something else out. Just by a show of yeses in the room. How many of you had a loss after practicing or trying something and just said, oh, this ain't going to work, I'm out of here? How many of you have ever, by a show of yeses, once you're finished those yeses, and if you're watching this after the fact, you're screaming yes at the screen, felt that they gave up on something prematurely? How many, by a show of hands and yeses, have ever thought, if I could just get it, if I could just make it work, if I could just know when I'm going to lose, if I knew when I could get out, then I could get out early. You got the SR Max. If I could just set something and forget it, you got the dailies. If I could just work something and watch, should I get in, shouldn't I get in, then you got the intradays. If I just had something that was just that much faster, that I could get a lot of work done in a very short period of time, you got the 5-minute MDM system. If I knew just what the success rate was over a long period of time, then if you're more analytical, then you got DexTrader. If I just had a web-based platform, then you got DexTrader chart system and the Dex data charts that's coming out. If I only had, if I only shoulda, if I only woulda. You got to get tired of doing that after a while. And I'm telling you now, and this is that Tony Robbins minute for you folks. The only reason I can tout this is because I had to do it for my damn self. There's no way you're going to get to success by holding all your freaking failures in your face. And your daily success isn't conditioned about the day. That's the big secret, is that your daily success isn't a success at all. It's the foot on the gas. That's all it is. It's the pedals in the analogy of driving a car. Your daily workload, what you do, is comprised of several different things. And a lot of it is protection, right? Protecting your mentality, protecting your bank account, protecting the data for yourself, what works and what doesn't, right? You have to become laser focused. You have to become disciplined. You have to follow a flow sheet. You have to remove distraction. There's many, 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 many things that you have to do so you don't have to do many, many, many things later on. Your success can't happen with who you are right now, and it hasn't happened for you. If it hasn't happened for you yet, it's because you are the one standing in your way. That's the toughest part to get wrapped around your head, is that, holy crap, you are the one that's causing your failure and your success. You have to take blame for both sides of it. Once you become very balanced, your view becomes clear. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Some of you have done this already, right? Some of you have already gotten to that point, and some of you, as soon as you do, it's like, do you ever go to a party and you're dead ass sober and you see a bunch of drunks running around, and they're all like, I get it. And they all think they're making sense. And they're talking to you, trying to tell you a joke, and they're slobbering and spitting, and they don't make any sense because they're talking a bunch of gibberish about what doesn't work and what does work. And I've lost my money and I can't do. Oh, wait, sorry, I transgressed into the chat room this morning. I'm not calling you a bunch of drunks, but I'm calling you that there's some people that they're still stuck in that mentality of this didn't work. It's a failure. It's a scam. It's a ripoff. It hurt me. I can't do this. It sucks. If I only had. I'm sorry to let you know, but you already got. If you come here with a mentality, and I'm putting this out there as I'm going to isolate this part of the video, and please bear with me for a second. Hi, my name is Max Farrow. And you're about to change the way you look at trading in the next 30 freaking seconds. You have to make something work. You have to isolate one thing, and you have to make it work. Nothing else will get you to success. It doesn't have to be DEX. It could be anything. The clock on the wall. It doesn't matter. You have to make it work. Nothing will be given to you. There's no quick and easy one system punch button, trade for me, make me my money. You have to make your money. You have to become a trader, not a button pusher. And even though that we make it simple, we don't make it easy until we learn how to make it. And it comes down to that. That's the secret of your trading life right now. And if you can't handle that, you won't become a trader. There's nothing out there lower in ease than what we do here. And if there is, I can tell you now, it's a scam. It's a bot. It's a person who wants to trade for you. It's whatever it is, but it's a scam. And the biggest scam of all is that when you allow them into your life to be able to do that, they are no longer scamming you. You are scamming you. You have to begin now by taking charge and changing your view to make it happen for you and nobody else, just you. Get in there and make it work. That's all I got for you. See you inside. Trade well. Now, for most of you, that's hard to hear. For most of you, that's the toughest thing that you will ever hear to be able to do in your life, that you cannot trade because you got 4 kids running or 2 kids running around. You don't have the time. You're at work all day. How could you end up trading? Well, there's 23 hours in a day. I can have an answer to every one of your excuses. If you want to put them in the chat room, go ahead. I'll help you get around them. I'm a fixer. This is how I started my life. Fixing. It's how I've led my entire life. Fixing and finding, taking the complicated, making it simpler, because I don't like complicated. I want simplicity. I want ease of use. It's like playing a game of pool. It's not overall every shot that is a win or a loss. And because you missed the ball going in the hole, it doesn't mean you lose the game. It's the ultimate of all moves that get you to the win. So there we go. Final thoughts. Not that that wasn't enough. I should just leave you right there. But this will sort of bring it all together. I am sorry. I'm sorry that you lost money this morning. I'm sorry that your viewpoint is that losing money and losing in the network is negative. It is negative, but there's a positive that balances it out. And I'm sorry if you don't see that just yet. You will. If you're determined and you're disciplined, you will. Your loss this morning is your gain if you use that loss for your advantage. Look at the news that happened, look at the things that worked out and what didn't work out, and use that for your advantage. Use it as a learning experience. Use it as the pain that replaces that anger. Use it as a part of the network that makes you a better trader. Basically making it great again. No, I'm not going to go down and start wearing red hats with it, that on it. I'm going to make trading great again. That sounded like Bill Clinton. I'm sorry. And no, I'm not. I don't want to be political in this room. I don't want to make any political jargons or anything else like that. But hey, listen, our world, who we are in these rooms, it's all about our viewpoint. It's all about our ability to be able to help each other get to those ideas of success that we have. It all comes down that we're here to do one important thing, and that is to be successful. In order to do that, you need to train, you need to trade, you need to figure stuff out, you need to learn. And I'm sure all of you can do it. I'm sure people like Mike Ficca and Paul and Jim Frickson and Dan Miller and all these people in this room, these people that are here that are trying to make a better life for themselves. If you're not a Dex Signals member and you're in this webinar today, then you got a little bit of a boost, I hope. You take some of this back to wherever you came from the Dex Trader system or the Dex indicators or even the MDM 5-minute. You take some of this information and use it for your advantage. That's all what these things are for. I hope you got something from today. For all of you that are watching this after the fact, thank you very much for getting to this part. This is the most toughest part, is to get people to a trade or to a video that they can get through the entire thing and see what we're talking about and what we're doing. So I hope you got some information. I want to thank you for your time, and of course, as always, trade well. I'm Max, and this is Dex. Everybody else, hang out in the room for questions and answers.